Gregg Russell, the legend, thank you so much for coming on the show.
I don't know about legend, but thank you.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, so as we've talked about a little bit before here, some of the people on our team are super excited to have you on the show, and I am as well. So we can't thank you enough for sharing your time. I know it's a precious commodity.
Well, I work almost 6 hours a week, so, I'm pretty busy guy here.
Dang. If only I were as talented as you, I could have that schedule.
Well, Ryan, it's not talent, it's courage. That's all it is.
Okay, I need that too. Okay. Okay, well, just so I'm sure our most of our listeners already know, but you've been writing and performing music for over 40 years. You've done hundreds of children's songs. You've written for original music for TV specials and more. But I
Yes.
think you're probably best known for your evening concert performances under the old Liberty Tree in Harbour Town, which is
Yeah,
Hilton Head,
I
South
I
Carolina.
guess so. I've had almost a 50-year career doing everything from ski resorts in Colorado every winter, like Vail and Aspen and Beaver Creek and those places. Over 1,000 cruise ships from Australia to the Mediterranean, Disney World, Universal Studios, with college shows, corporate things. But it seems that, my time under the big Liberty Oak in Harbour Town is how most people identify me.
How did that come to be? I mean, you were already a good musician, and how did it
Well, I'm
land you there?
still not a good musician. I know three and a
Okay,
half chords, but that's enough, believe me.
okay.
Um, I was in school in Florida. I was in college, and I was playing around, knocking around little college bars and stuff. And I got up the courage to go audition at Disney. And so I auditioned. There was this famous entertainment director guy there, a guy named Sonny Anderson. And I auditioned for him. And he told me if I'd cut my hair and shave my beard and change my name, he would hire me. So I got hired, and I would traditionally work at Disney on the weekends and stuff. And then I got ready to finish school, and I didn't really have a job or anywhere to go. And a couple of weeks before I was finishing up, a guy walked up to me at Disney World and said, "Hey, I booked these entertainment venues up and down the East Coast. I have a 2-week job on a place called Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. Would you like to have that job?" Well, I had nowhere else to go, so I said, "Sure." So I finally found it on a map. There weren't even really it wasn't identified on maps back then. And I came here for 2 weeks, and they asked me to stay for 2 more and 2 more, and that was 47 summers ago.
So 47 years of 2-week gigs. That's
Yeah.
right.
Well, it turned out to be 100 nights a year basically for the last 47 years.
Wow.
I'm here a few weeks in the spring during our golf tournament on CBS and spring breaks and that sort of stuff. And then I'm here basically Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Is that where you are right now? You're in Hilton
Yeah,
Head?
yeah, I'm home. We have I don't know, this week and then next weekend, Labor Day weekend, and then I'm done for the season. We do a Thanksgiving show and a Christmas show, but other than that, yeah, I'm unemployed again starting next week.
Well, just some people are watching this and some people are listening, but for those watching, what's behind you there? Is that like
This is our home. I guess up north they would call that a pond. Here we call it a lagoon.
okay.
We have a nice big backyard, and we have alligators and eagles and osprey and herons and deer. All the deer come out at night, so it's a very quiet, lovely little. Hilton Head is a 12 by 5 mile long island, second
Okay.
largest barrier island on the East Coast, behind Long Island in New York. But they
Wow.
have but they have 40 million people, and we have, I don't know, 25,000 or something.
Oh,
And then
okay.
in the summer, of course, people come on vacations, and we are jam full all summer long, almost at 100% occupancy for home rentals and villas and condos and hotels.
Oh, okay. So I'm from the West Coast, so my only sort of what the reason I knew Hilton Head was Michael Jordan golfs there a lot or
Yes.
something, right?
Yeah, he had a
Okay.
home here for years and years. His mom actually lived here for probably 20 years.
Oh, okay, okay. So you'd see him around, maybe seen
Yeah,
him too.
we have a lot of celebs here that come very quietly to spend family time. We're in a good location here with good accessibility of Savannah and Charleston, and even during COVID, families could drive here from Cincinnati and Charlotte, and
Yeah,
feel safe in our little bubble here.
yeah.
So yeah, we've got a lot of celebs. I had a couple at my show last night, and I won't say who they were, but you would uh, immediately recognize them, and they're just there being mom and dad with their kids.
Really? So that no fanfare, just in the crowd watching the show,
Yeah,
and then they come
we
and go.
don't point them out and make a big deal out of them, and we respect their privacy, and I've spent an awful lot of time in LA, and they always make sure the photographers are there to show them going to the Ivy or whatever, but
Right.
that doesn't happen here.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be a nicer environment there than having a camera at your dentist's office or something,
Well,
trying to
we
snap.
forget the people who are famous, and I've been lucky to be around a lot of famous people. They're famous all day, every day, everywhere they
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
And, yeah, you hear for the first time through the 20,000th time, I don't mean to bother you, but,
right.
and,
Yeah,
they're just people that happen to be high profile, and yet they want to live sometimes a little more quiet life.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I interviewed someone who works at the Santa Barbara Zoo, and he takes people on a train ride to around the animals.
Yeah.
And he was telling me he had a couple celebrities on the train, and it was kind of a similar thing. They were just mom and dad. Of course,
Yeah.
people asked for pictures because it was,
Sure.
you know, yeah. But does anyone ever try to get on stage with you and sing any of the I'm sure you've got some musicians in the crowd.
Well, I have some very good Nashville friends who have homes here or come here on vacation. One of my best friends in the world is a guy named Jay DeMarcus, who is the musical genius behind the country group Rascal Flatts.
Really?
22 number one hits and the most awarded country group of all time. And Jay has a home here, and his kids are now to the age where when they started with me, they were like 4 years old, 5 years old. Now they're like these incredibly talented teenagers. So in years past, Jay would come up and sing some Rascal Flatts songs, which people went crazy for. But now he wants to come up and play guitar for his kids to sing,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool.
I wonder, and his kids are probably the few people he can't, or the hardest people for him to impress. Right?
Well, and it's funny. I said to him the other day, I saw him a couple of weeks ago. I said, Jay, you're lucky. Talent usually skips a generation. And in your case, it did.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, well, and speaking of celebrities, just to not to get too off track, but you are now, I mean, you're kind of a celebrity, and you've
No,
actually,
no, 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 no.
well, you've been in the movies, right? You were
Yeah.
in, you had your own movie called Come
We
Away Home, right?
Yeah, we've done a couple of movies that did quite well, family oriented kind of things. Um, and I've been in some other higher profile stuff, and of course, recently, you may know that Apple TV has been running a documentary all summer long on what we've been doing there in Harbour Town for all these years, and
Yeah.
that has really stepped up my email messages from people around the country.
I bet, yeah. In fact, thanks for fitting me in. I'm sure you were fielding calls.
Actually, I just had a desk delivered, so I'm glad it was the timing was perfect.
Oh,
That's
great.
that's
Okay.
my big day. Somebody shows up at the front door.
It's a big day, yes. Wait, so your first movie was Camp Tanglefoot. Was that
Yeah, that was a little straight to video piece out of Nashville. Kim Dawson was the producer on that. He did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
Oh,
and
great.
he was the guy that brought back the Mickey Mouse Club, and he found Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears and,
Oh,
that whole cast. And Kim and I became very, very good friends, and he wanted to do a little piece with me. So we rented out a camp up in North Carolina, and of course, I played the camp director. And it was about little kids, going away to camp for the first time, and it was just a sweet little thing. And
yeah.
then we did Come Away Home with some high profile people that we shot here on Hilton Head that did quite well in its time, and that was a lot of fun. And now the Apple TV thing, but I'm not really an actor. I got to be myself, which
Right.
helps. But I'm not really a trained actor. I have a daughter who is incredibly trained actor,
Oh, really?
and yeah, she's in New York, and went away to a performing arts boarding school up in Michigan called Interlochen. A lot of famous people came out of there, and
Oh,
then
okay.
she went straight to New York to college for 4 years and studied. And talk about talent skipping a generation. That's what happens.
You're saying it skipped you and went to her?
Absolutely. I
Should we
have
be
I have faked my way through this whole thing, brother.
well, should we be looking for her in some upcoming projects
Well, she's taking a little break right now.
okay.
Recently got married a big time Wall Street lawyer up in New York City, and they bought a little place 2 hours outside of Manhattan, so they're commuting, and she's taking a little time to remodel and refurbish and decorate this little farm place, and so she's taking a break right now. But she's done everything: film, TV, the stage, and a lot of modeling, and has done quite well for herself.
What's her name so our listeners can look
Her
for
name
her?
is Madison Russell.
Madison Russell. Okay,
Yeah.
we will keep our eyes out for
And my other daughter, who lives out in Denver, Colorado, she was the equestrian in our family. So, all you
Oh.
parents out there, if your daughter ever says they want to start riding horses, when they're at school one day, just move and don't tell them where you moved. I like to joke that we bought our veterinarian a brand new oceanfront house here in Sea Pines, but she did quite well with that. Rode all the way through college and actually won the NCAA national championship. So,
No
I
kidding.
yeah, collegiately. So I have, with my beautiful bride of 35 years, been lucky enough to have beautiful daughters in our life, and they are wonderful, kind, gentle people, and couldn't be more proud of them.
Wonderful, kind, gentle, and talented, it sounds
Yes.
like. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay. It seems like everyone in your family has some amazing accomplishment they've they've made.
Well, I've always been a doer, and we were lucky that we homeschooled our children a lot, and wherever we went, we all went together. So if we went to Hawaii on cruise ships for 2 months, we all went, and we did the school thing. But we also did volcanoes and all the rest of it, or going through the Caribbean, or going to New York City, or wherever we went. We went as a family, and there was so much positive that came out of that. Being able to travel and experience different people and cultures, and all of that together as a family was a real blessing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and all that success, I mean, you say you're a doer, whereas I like to drink doers, so maybe that's why I've had less success than you.
Well, I've been accused of a lot of things, but never of having a drink before going on a stage to do kid shows. So I'll leave
Right.
that right there.
Yeah. Well, okay, Greg, let's talk a little bit about so after this amazing career, which is still going, you're sort of deciding that you want to transition to not necessarily retirement, but a different life, right? Tell me a little bit
Well,
about
yeah,
that.
traditionally, I was on the road 200 nights a year doing all the things I talked about, cruise ships, Colorado, college campuses. I think I've done over 600 colleges, corporate convention shows, and all of that is fun. But the problem is, like a cruise ship, fly to Cozumel, Mexico, it takes 3 days out of my life to do two 45-minute shows. And when you're young and, not 98 years old like I am now,
No.
that was okay, but now that I don't have to do it anymore, now instead of working 300 nights a year, maybe I'll work 100 nights a year. But
Oh, okay.
I don't wanna give it up. I still get the charge out of walking out on stage and doing my silly, goofy stuff that I get to do. But I'm at a stage in my life where I get to pick and choose, and if I don't wanna fly to Seattle, Washington for a 45-minute gig, I don't have to do it
Yeah.
anymore. But
Yeah.
if it's somewhere we wanna go or something we wanna see or do or explore around, then we take the time, and it's like getting paid to go where you wanna go, so it's kinda cool. This fall, my wife and I are doing several cruises. We're going to do a wonderful river cruise on the Danube in Europe. So that's like a
Wow.
2.5, 3 week trip that, who gets to do that? Nobody.
Right.
So I'm very fortunate. So I would say semi-retired. So I
Yeah.
work maybe a third of the year instead of working nonstop year round. And now I'm a little more choosy about where I go and when.
I mean, so we talk a lot, and a lot of the guests that I have talk about this. The word retirement feels a little outdated. It
Yeah,
connotes, sitting in a lazy boy all day or something.
no way.
Whereas right. And it sounds like you love what you do. You just want to do it when you want to do it and
Well,
not when you don't.
if I could Star Trek myself and transport myself to Sydney, Australia, and jump on a ship and do a couple of shows in a tuxedo with an orchestra, and then magically be back home instead of travel is difficult.
Yeah.
It used to be easier than it is now, but now with all the uh, you know all the delays and
Yes.
travel is not as easy as it used to be, and I've accumulated millions of frequent flyer miles. When
Oh,
I
I bet.
show up at a Delta desk and hand them my card, they bring people out from the back, say, "Look at this, we've never seen one of these." But I earned those miles,
Right.
man. I earned them.
The hard way. Yeah, that's a lot of taking your shoes off for security
Yeah,
to go.
yeah,
Yeah. How
yeah.
many times do they search your guitar all the time? How does that
All
work?
the time because, it's not something they see all the time, and there's some little hidden compartments, and, of course, I'm in the entertainment business, so I must be smuggling something, you know?
Right, right, right. Yeah.
Uh, and a lot of my travel traditionally has been international travel, and I've seen the back room of a lot of airports.
Really? You mean they take you into the back to
Oh,
question
yeah.
you?
Oh, yeah. Well,
Really?
you get off a cruise ship in Cartagena, Colombia at 7 o'clock in the morning and go straight to the airport. And the guy looks at your passport and says, "Well, you just got here." Yes,
Yeah,
sir."
yeah.
"Well, you don't like our country?" "Well, it's not that. I'm flying to, Miami." "But you just got here. Who did you meet while you were here?" "I didn't meet anybody."
Yeah.
"Well, what were you doing? Do you have a work permit?" "Well, no, I was on and it just
Yeah.
it's difficult at best.
Can you play him a little song to sort of lighten the mood?
No, because I wanna get home. I don't wanna screw myself over.
Yeah. So, what your shows at Hilton Head, which
Yeah.
are very easy for you to get to. I mean, it must be really close to where your house is, or I don't know exactly, but
I leave my house about a half hour before I'm due on stage. I have an assistant roadie, if you will, who takes care of everything for me. I show up, I plug one cord into a guitar and I'm ready to go, and he takes care of everything else.
oh, that's fantastic. That's the way to go. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so will you continue? How many shows do you play now? And is that are you are you lowering that number, or with the ones there, you're gonna keep doing as many as you've always done?
Well, for the first 40 years, I worked 6 nights a week, and then I did 2 boat cruises every week. I invite, 150 of my best friends on a Thursday and Friday morning to go out, on this big, tour boat, and we talk about the environment, and we see dolphin and manta rays
Wow.
and eagles and all of that. And I talk about how important it is to protect the environment. And I've been doing that for probably 35 years. So this summer, um, uh, I cut back to, or 2 summers ago, I cut back to 5 nights a week. This summer, I cut back to 4 nights a week and 1 boat cruise. So I'm finding the sweet spot now of that fine line between overexposing myself at this point, or I'm looking for longevity. I'm finishing
Right.
up my 47th year, and I'd like to do 50 seasons. That kind of has a nice ring to it. As long as I stay healthy and they want me and people keep showing up, and we just had the biggest summer I've ever had. So
Really?
yeah, no complaints.
So you think at 50 you might stop doing it, or you're not sure yet?
I'm not sure yet, but that's my goal. I'd like to hit 50, even if it's 1 night a week.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's what it'll be, but I'd like to hit 50 and then figure it out from there.
Yeah. Okay, so you still have the fire to play. You just want to make sure you're doing it the right amount for you.
Well, let's just say this. I had a whole lot more fire 14 weeks ago than I have right now. at
Right.
the end of the season. I
Yeah.
always look forward to the beginning and the end of seasons. As you know, or may not know, it can be 100 degrees here and 100% humidity, and we get, I don't know, 1,000, 1,500 people every single night, and it doesn't look. I try to make it look pretty easy, but it can be a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's something that fans of musicians don't think about, is how much work it takes to get there and leave and do the whole thing. We just see you on stage and it looks so fun, you know?
Yeah. Well, it is fun, and I have
Yeah.
fun. I have fun every single night. The key to my thing is I interact with these kids, and I do like 45 minutes and set the whole thing up, and then I invite a few kids to come up and they sit on my knee, and
Oh, wow.
I get them to talk and try to say some funny stuff and get them to sing a little song or whatever. The other night I had a little kid up 4 years old and cute as he could be. And I said, "You don't look very happy." He said, "I got in trouble today." I said, "What happened?" And he looked around, and there's over 1,000 people sitting there. He looks around and he leans into my mic and he said, "Somebody pooped in my pants." You couldn't write that if you wanted to.
You're right.
You could
Yeah,
not make that up.
he said it as if he may not be one of the prime suspects, right?
Yeah, so I waited for the laughter to die down, and I said, "Well, who was it?" He goes, "I don't know."
Kids are geniuses. Yeah, like you
Absolutely.
said, you could not come up with that. Yeah.
They have no filter. They have no
Yes.
filter. I had a kid up not long ago, sat on my knee, and it's summertime here, so they wear shorts and a little t-shirt or whatever. And he sits on my knee and he has one flip-flop on, and the other foot has nothing on it. I said, "Hey, pal, yeah, you lost a flip-flop." He looked at me, he said, "No, I didn't. I found one."
Oh my gosh. That's perfect comic timing right there.
One of my favorite questions I ask them is, "Hey, have the police ever been to your house?" Oh, and their face light up. "Yeah, you know what? One time," and then I'll cut them off. But they have no filter. They'll say anything.
Yes, for sure. That just reminds me, the other day I have a little son, I took him to the park, and I got there and he was only wearing one shoe, and I was so distraught because I couldn't really let him walk around after we got there, and I found it in a bush, so that
Yeah,
one had a happy story.
yeah. They don't care.
Yeah,
Another one will come along.
right, exactly. Oh, man. So do any of your kids have kids? They sound maybe like they're too young at this point, but
No, no, they've been, very career-minded
yeah.
I think my wife would trade me, the house, the dog, well, maybe not the dog, but everything for one grandchild. So
Right.
we are very, very hopeful here,
Yes.
before too long.
Do you think your kids wanna have kids?
I do. I think they talk about their own childhood in such idyllic, wonderful ways that I can't imagine that they would not wanna experience that for themselves.
Yeah. It's been amazing seeing the reaction of my parents or my wife's parents. They light up so much seeing their grandkids.
Yeah.
They don't light up that way when they see me, you know?
Well, my philosophy is, grandchildren are grandparents' reward for not killing their own kids.
I like that.
And grandparents are nicer than the real parents.
Yes,
They
yes,
figure, "Hey, screwed the first deal up, but now I got another shot at this whole thing."
I know, it's amazing the things that I would have been in trouble for, those are all out the window, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, so what now that you may have a little more time, I mean, it sounds like you may need to rest, but you're still playing so much, but do you have any other core pursuits or things you love doing besides music?
Well, I love writing, and that's a very lonely, creative process. And we spent a lot of time down in the Bahamas, a little place called Green Turtle, uh, which is just this little spit of land. And the internet doesn't work very often, and the phones never work. So, gives me a chance to be creative. I love writing. I have a brand new book out, which will be my third children's
Really?
book coming out. I've done, I don't know, 12, 14 albums full of songs. I've written a lot for TV and other things. So I love that creative process, but I have to really get quiet in order to
Yeah.
do that. And at
Yeah.
home, it seems there's so many distractions and all my buddies calling me to play golf and I like to cut the grass and you know do
Yeah.
all that regular dad stuff.
Yeah.
But I also have a small business. I have some investors, and we buy homes, remodel them, and then flip them.
Okay.
And I've done, I don't know, 15, 16 houses. I'm doing one right now. And I'm the guy that kind of coordinates all the subcontractors and all that. And it's been highly, highly successful, and I really enjoy that because it's a creative process and putting the pieces of the puzzle together on a 40, 50-year-old house that's time to get upgraded. And here the real estate market is like where you are, off the charts, unbelievably good.
Yeah.
So every project we've ever done has turned a nice profit, and I just love that engagement with all the guys I work with, and it's a lot of fun. So that keeps me busy as well.
It sounds like it. And I don't know if correct me if this is just a cliche, but a organized, oriented musician, is that common? It sounds like you have all those skills.
I think most musicians like to sleep till noon
Yeah.
and, and then go to IHOP or somewhere and eat breakfast and get ready for that 2 or 3 hour gig that is so horrible to do every night.
Right.
Uh,
Whereas you're in spreadsheets and it sounds like you're organizing contractors and
I do have that left brain, right brain thing, and a
yeah.
lot of guys don't. They just love the performance part. But I've always, when young guys come to me for advice or whatever, I tell them it's show business. It
Right.
is, it is a business. And I didn't, I never put all my eggs in one basket. Yeah, I had Hilton Head, but also I had Vail and Aspen all winter. And when I wanted to go on cruise ships, I did. And as the college entertainer of the year, I could pick and choose to go to colleges. So I never had a downtime or an off season. There was always somewhere new and refreshing to go, because what I do here on Hillnet has no relationship to what I do on a cruise ship in Australia. I mean, totally different audiences. I mean, I'm wearing a tuxedo and working with an orchestra, and here I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt and sweating, my
Right.
rear end off, with
Right, right.
4-year-olds saying, "No, I didn't lose a flip flop. I found one." So
Right, right.
I think that helped keep me fresh all the time, because every venue demands something very different. And
Yeah.
not that you become a chameleon, but you learn to fit a round peg into a round hole and not try to force a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah, you have to know your audience to know what they're looking for, I would imagine.
Yes,
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
like a comedian, they can't tell specific jokes a certain crowd or yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So and I imagine tuxedo wearing orchestra crowd doesn't want flip-flop jokes maybe, you know?
No, but they want to laugh, and
Yeah.
I never finish a song. I never play a whole song. I do so many bits and shtick that the music is there, just kind of tie it together. But I've made a living in between songs.
Really? That is really cool.
Nobody's gonna pay me to stand there and sing Bocelli. You know. I use the music as a tool, and I love the music part, but I love hearing people laugh. That's what really rings my bell.
Wow. So do you think you had that fire in you and you just learned music as a way to do that? Or
No, when I was, when the Beatles came out in the '60s, I saw
yeah.
that and I heard that, and I thought, man, that is just so cool. So I still have, when my parents passed away, we kind of cleaned their house out of all the stuff. And I found a receipt that my mother had kept for the first guitar she ever bought for me. And she paid $6 a month at the music store so that I could get a guitar.
Wow.
Um, so little did she know that that would set the blueprint for the path of my life. And I was always the guy, the camp counselor guy sitting around the campfire singing Peter Paul and Mary songs or whatever.
Okay.
And then I started singing in the bars, and I kind of like that. It was the singer songwriter era of Billy Joel and James Taylor and Dan Fogelberg and all
Yeah.
those guys, and I could sing all the Beatles songs. But when I was around a campfire or with kids, there was just something special about it that seemed very genuine and authentic to me. And when I got to Disney, they're all about connecting with audiences. And in most cases at Disney, I didn't have a microphone, no PA system.
Really?
You just set up somewhere in the park and stand under a shade tree and try to gather a crowd together to distract them from the 2-hour wait to go in the Country Bear Jamboree. And so
Oh.
I learned how to communicate with people. And that, if I have a gift, that's what it is. It's not vocally, it's not singing, certainly not how I look.
Oh, come
You
on
know,
now.
but if I have a gift, it's to being able to connect with people.
That sounds like some of the best training you could get for what you do is having to, because I'm sure at that point you're just like to the crowd standing there, come listen,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
now people are clamoring to listen to you, but you had to kind of strengthen that muscle.
Yeah, and it's an art, knowing what to say, when to say it, and when to shut up,
Right,
you know?
right.
You
Yeah.
know? Um, I've just had such a great run, and I'm so grateful for everything that's come my way. And I've met such wonderful people on Hilton Head. Tonight I'll have 4 generations of family members from grandma down to a little 4-year-old. And so the material has to appeal across the board. I can't do a little kid show of The little duck was swimming in the water. I
Right.
can't do that because
Yeah.
the dad and the grandma in the back will shoot themselves.
Right,
So
right.
if 2/3 of my audience on any given night is adult, then I have to be able to appeal to them and shoot some things over the heads of the kids, but still relate to the children. So there's a real art there. And
For
again, if
sure.
I have a gift, I think that's what it is.
I think that's so true. I It just again makes me think about the little shows my son watches, and some of them I like you said, I want to I want to scream, but
Yeah.
other ones really connect with me, even though they seem like a kid show. To the fact where I'll find myself asking my wife, so do you think Daniel Tiger was upset that one day when and she's like, I don't want to talk about this, but it lands.
Yeah, well, in our
Yeah.
day, it was a character named Barney, big
Yeah,
purple
yeah, I
dinosaur. My kids would watch. I'd walk through the room and want to hang myself, you know?
right, right, yeah.
But there is something very appealing, if you can connect as a lot of these characters over the years have been able to do. If you could connect in any way, then you have an audience that is hungry for material, and they hang on every word. So I have to be very, very cognizant of what I'm saying and when I'm saying it, and how I'm saying it.
Yeah, for sure. You know, eh, it's speaking of Barney, it sounds like there's a sketch you should see on Saturday Night Live. I don't know if you ever saw it, but Charles Barkley was hosting, and he played Barney one-on-one in basketball, and, he gives him a lot of elbows to the face.
Yeah, yeah,
Sounds like you might enjoy that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But, yeah, it sounds like you have a real respect for your audience, which I'm sure they really appreciate,
Well,
because
I
you
do,
yeah.
and I assume every single night that they're smarter than I am, they're more well-traveled than I am, they've seen life, and, I can't fake it. I have to be genuine and authentic, and, I get kids up out of the audience, and my job is to play straight man and get them to be funny and to hear people laughing with them, but not at them.
Right.
And
Right.
there's a fine line to walk there, and it's just worked incredibly well.
Yeah, and I
Well,
imagine when you're doing it right, the little kid can sense that they're not laughing at him, that
oh,
he
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. They make little signs. They get there an hour before I do because
Oh.
the seating is at a premium right up close. Because I have them all sit on stage with me. And
Oh,
they make
okay.
these signs like a back of a pizza box or a Coors Light box, Dad says, "Here, I drank the last 8 of these, you can use this. Here, make a sign." But they make signs and they hold them up that says basically, "My mom sang with you 35 years ago," or "I drove all the way from Chicago just to be here one night. Please pick me." So I can't pick them all with signs, but
Right.
I have a whole bit where I walk around and I read every single sign out loud,
Really?
so that
Wow.
I am in effect rewarding them for their effort that they put in, even though I can't choose every one of them. I can acknowledge that they put some effort in, and I appreciate that.
Well, I mean, and the thing is for you to do so many shows, but for them, that one memory is gonna
That's
last.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I've always been lived under the philosophy that tonight somebody's going to see me for the first time and somebody's going to see me for the last time.
Yeah.
And they both deserve the same amount of energy, enthusiasm. They don't care that I'm on show number 96 for the season. They don't
No.
care, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can't phone it in. I've got to do my best to deliver something that's genuine and authentic. And that's true in any business.
Right. I mean, it's a lot of sounds like a lot of pressure, but it also sounds very rewarding.
Well, I have buddies tell me, "Hey, I'm going to come by and heckle you tonight." I always say, "Brother, trust me. You do not want to heckle a guy with a microphone and 50 years of stage experience because you will lose. I've
That's
seen it
very true.
all. I don't think anything could happen that I would see or experience from a stage that would be brand new for me. So, I've kind of got a handle on what I need to do and how I need to do it.
You get hecklers while you're singing with children?
Not heckler. Some guy yell out, "Hey, sing something you know." Okay,
Oh, yeah.
buddy. Yeah, you know what I mean. But
Yeah.
because the kids are on stage with me, I'm looking over their heads. They sit, crisscross applesauce in front of me. And I look over their heads to, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of adults. But the show I'm seeing in front of me that's going on, can you imagine 800, 3, 4, 6 year olds all elbowing and fighting and pulling each other's ears and kids tying my shoes together because I can't move? I mean, I see a whole different show than what the audience sees.
Right. Has that happened? They've tied your shoelaces together?
Yeah,
Oh my
absolutely.
gosh. Okay. You really know how to adapt and move on that stage.
Or I'll do something simple saying, "Gosh, what a special night this is," and a little kid 3 feet in front of me will yell out, "No, it's not." Okay, kid, just relax.
Right, right, right.
But I've learned how to block it all out, and just keep going. Just one foot in front of the other one, no matter
Well,
what train wreck happens in front of me.
it's hard to go one foot in front of the other when your shoelaces are tied together, but I guess you make it work.
You got that right.
So, Greg, what have been some of the biggest challenges, I guess, as you've sort of tried to, go from work every gig you can to this more streamlined schedule that fits your
Yeah,
life?
I'm not sure it's a challenge. It's more of a relief, really. When you're climbing and you're trying to create a career and create something that you vision in your mind and yet is for most of us unreachable. I've opened for major acts in Vegas and concert tours and Kenny Rogers, Kenny
Wow.
Loggins, the
Wow.
Beach Boys, on and on and on and on. And as the opening act, nobody's there to see you. And
Yeah.
my job is to come out and get the people back into the same mood they were in before the guy announced I was coming out.
Right. Yeah.
So you're trying to build something and grow something, which is the challenge of climbing the mountain. And then once you get settled into, okay, this is who I am, this is what my career is. I'm not going to have a weekly show on CBS, and I'm not going to be famous where I can't walk down the street. But I've found a nice little niche for myself. Once you
Yeah.
settle into that, and again, knowing I don't have to fly anywhere that I don't want to go to anymore, there's a relief in that.
Yeah.
And yet there's also part of me that thinks, well, boy, they're throwing a lot of money my way to go do that. And why don't I want to do it? Well, the fact is, I love my wife and I love my life and I love what we get to do together. And I take a little comfort knowing that now I get to do what I want.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not building anymore. I'm maintaining, really.
Okay.
My
Yeah.
career is what it's going to be. I'm never going to be a household name. I'm not going to be headlining in Vegas, but I've created a little niche for myself that has been highly rewarding and satisfactory.
Well, after doing this show, you may be a household name. This is probably gonna finally put you on the map.
Well, there you go, brother.
Although I would say I remember being, younger and wanting to be rich and famous, and the being rich part never went away. But
Yeah.
the famous part started to seem like it might be kind of inconvenient and not that fun.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, as I said before, I've had the opportunity to be around a lot of famous people. One of my great friends in the world, who narrated this Apple TV documentary that highlights what we've been doing, is Jim Nance, the
Oh,
CBS
really?
Sports Hall of Fame
Oh, yeah.
broadcaster. He's the
Legend.
best in the business. I mean, who else does the Super Bowl, including the on-field presentation, then does
Yeah.
the NCAA Final Four, and then a week later does Augusta, the biggest golf tournament in the world? Who in our
Yes.
lifetime as a broadcaster could do that? Well, my buddy Jimmy, he's that guy. But he is so gracious in being a celebrity everywhere he goes. He takes time to visit with people and does it in such a wonderful way. I've introduced him to friends of mine that maybe he won't see for 4 or 5 years, but he remembers something about those people 4 or 5 years later.
Really?
He has that gift.
Yeah.
And he is, I tell people ask me about him all the time. I tell people, first of all, obviously he's a Hall of Fame broadcaster, but he is a world class human being. And I just love him and respect him for how he has handled his life and how he interacts with the planet. He's just a special human being. And if you have mentors in life, I've tried to learn from people like that. I went to a private boarding school for high school, private fundamentalist Christian boarding school. And Billy Graham's children went to this
Oh, wow.
particular school. And because of that, I got to travel around some with Billy Graham and saw how he handled everything in his life. And if you can be lucky enough to find people like that and watch them and model how they interact with the world, then you're 1 or 2 steps ahead of everybody else.
Yeah. I can only imagine with that kind of fame to still be that gracious and remember someone 4 years later. I mean, in the case of Jim Nance,
Yeah,
unbelievable. He is someone when I hear his voice, I just get that feeling like a warm hug, kind of like,
yeah,
all right, I'm in good hands for this game, that
yeah.
that sort of thing.
And as a broadcaster, you would know you've got a set of headphones on right now. When I go to an NFL game with him or go to when he broadcasts a golf tournament, he's got a headset on, and there are 47 people talking to
oh,
him all at the same time, and he's delivering everything just calm and collected and smooth, and
that
it's a real art what he does.
absolutely. I mean, if my wife tries to tell me 2 things, I have a mental breakdown. I can only do 1.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
One input, one output.
right. Well, do you have any advice for people who maybe they're thinking about winnowing down their obligations or getting to that, like we said, retirement may not be the right word, but they want to transition into, like, the life they want.
Yes.
Any advice for them?
Yes, you know, none of us are promised tomorrow, and we always say when. Well, when the kids go away, or when I don't have to go to work every day, or when I get this windfall, or whatever. If you keep waiting for when, you have to make things happen in your life. You have to be proactive and have a plan, have goals, follow the plan, and structure your life financially, emotionally, and every other way, so that when you get to the point where you can make a decision to transition into whatever is next for you, you have the ability to do that. But it takes planning and it takes work. It doesn't just magically drop into your lap.
Yeah, and so you've done that. You did a lot of forethought and planning, and now it's sort of paying off.
Well, we've put ourselves in a position financially where I don't ever have to work another day in my life. And
Yeah.
I could have said that 5 years ago. I'm still working because I still love it. Now, do I want to do it 300 nights a year? No, I don't.
Yeah.
But do I want to do one or two great big 3, $4 million houses every year and get the satisfaction and the profitability out of that? Yes, I do. And do I want to go on the river cruises and go to Australia and go to Tahiti if I want to? Yeah. So there's a good mix there for me, but I've positioned myself that I have options. And if you don't have options, whether they come because you don't have time or you don't have the energy or you don't have the health or you don't have the finances, it makes doing the things that you really, really wanted to do make it much more difficult. Don't wait. Don't wait. Put yourself in a position where you can make those choices.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that advice. The situation I get into on a lot of these interviews is I'm just listening for me, and I'm
Yeah,
taking
sure.
all the advice. So thank you so much for all of that. What one question before I let you go, I want to make sure you can plug anything you might want people to go find, maybe your new book or
No,
nothing. Or
I don't really wanna plug anything.
okay,
I've gotten a tremendous amount of, activity, messaging and all of that, through the Apple TV thing.
okay,
It's out, it's an hour and 20-minute documentary. 2 kids who used to sit in front of me are now very successful filmmakers, and they approached me 3 years ago and wanted to make this documentary, and I told them, "No, I didn't wanna do it." And they came back 2 years ago. I took them to lunch and they pitched it again. And I said, guys, I feel like the cop on the street here. There's nothing to see. Move along, go do something interesting. Well, they came back, I guess, a year and a half ago. And, they finally convinced me that, this would be something maybe my daughters would like to see 10 years from now, or my friends that I've made
ah,
around the world would like to see. So, they crafted it and Apple TV picked it up. And within 24 hours of it being broadcast, it went to the #1 documentary in America
holy cow!
on Apple TV. So that has kind of opened up the floodgates of me hearing from people all over the country, third and fourth generation of family members who I guess this has struck a chord with them, and that's been very, very rewarding. So if somebody has Apple TV and wants to dial it up, I would encourage them to do that. It'll be on Amazon and all the other platforms in October, but for right now,
Okay.
it's exclusive to Apple TV.
To Apple TV. And you said it really struck a chord with people. Was that one of the 3.5 chords you know?
See, now that was a little bit of a shot there, brother.
I couldn't resist. Well, Greg, thank you so much for joining us, on the Happiest Retirees podcast. It's been a real honor for me, and I know for all the people I work with, it's just so exciting for us.
Well, it's my pleasure. Again, I I have been trying to live a very intentional life full of gratitude for the life I have, for the career I've had, for the beautiful wife and children that I have. I'm just one of those guys who feels like they won the lottery. And so when things come along and give me a chance to have a platform like this to maybe encourage people and tell people to follow their dreams, that's a good thing for me. So I thank you for inviting me and including me in what you're doing.
Absolutely, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say be careful of the alligators, because being from the West Coast, I'm obsessed with worrying about that.
I tell you what, I'll tell you one quick story. You
Yeah.
know, we have alligators all over the place here. And when one of my daughters was real little, we had a hamster, and the hamster ate a hole in the wall, got out of his cage, and he got trapped behind the wall. So we have a critter man here on Hilton Head. So I called him. I said, "Hey, critter man, it's Gregg Russell." He said, "Hey, did you see my picture in the paper? I just trapped the largest alligator in the history of South Carolina. We had to pick him up with a car wrecker and put him on the back of a truck." And I said, "Yeah, your picture was on the front page of the paper." He said, "Yeah, it's the biggest alligator in the history of South Carolina." He said, "What do you need?" I said, "Well, I got a hamster stuck behind the drywall."
It's a real step down.
So he came and he got the hamster out for $1,500, and the
I
hamster croaked the next day.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So stay away from the alligators.
Stay away from the alligators and keep your hamsters safe. All right. All right, Greg. Well, thank you. You have a great day and enjoy whatever time off you might have.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. God bless.